all services over here. I don't have a course myself. Everybody tells me I should build one, but I know that it takes 250 hours to build a course. And I don't have 250 hours to build my own because I'm so busy building everybody else. I'm loving how it turns out. Cannot wait to be an affiliate for it. Yeah, I think you've created something really beautiful. So hats off to you for doing the work for so long to make the process easy.
All right, Jasmine, welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So in particular, I'm excited for this topic because I think that everyone online is being told they need to go create a course by somebody. And what I've learned is it's a process. It's a lot more than what you really sign up for. It sounds like this easy money, but it's not always the case. And I know you're going to have so much wisdom to share with our audience today on how to create one that is phenomenal, that people want to finish, because we all know that nobody finishes the courses they buy, let alone start them sometimes. So, but as we dive in, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Great. So hi, I'm Jasmine. Nice to meet you out there. And I lead a done-for-you course creation agency. So very similar to ghostwriting a book, we take an expert's knowledge and wisdom and we package that into a step-by-step process that allows students to get a result. Oftentimes experts have this big challenge that they know so much. And in knowing so much, we can't tell what's important, what's not important, what order things should go into, how much is too much. These are all very common things. So as an outsider, I get to take that brain, take that brilliance, cut it down to the 15% that's actually valuable, and then put it in the right order so that someone can get a result.
I love that. And you're actually working with me on my course, or several that are coming out. And it's been a process to understand, and break down, okay, this is what I want them to actually do. This is the call to action. We always lead with, what do you want them to take away? Which is so powerful because it even though we know that's what's right, we all always, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, what do I want them to do? I just want to dump my brain out in this course, but not everyone wants to consume all that, right? It's less is more sometimes.
Yeah, especially with what you're teaching. That's, I feel like, the power and the beauty in it is each of these mini creations that we've put together, shall I say. I don't want to spill any of the surprise things that are coming, but they're just so valuable. I know it's a really valuable course when I keep telling all my friends, well, we're building this and just wait, you're going to want to be an affiliate. I feel like everyone's just going to love what you're coming out with.
I'm so excited for it. So but we all know a course is not necessarily for everyone in every business. There's no one size fits all solution, right? So tell our audience a little bit more about, when should someone look at making an online course in their business, or when should they start offering it? At what point? Right away? Do we need to wait? What are your recommendations?
Yeah, you always want to do one-on-one first for long enough to understand the journey. Right? If you've only worked with a handful of people, you haven't seen enough people from the end-to-end process where you understand where they're going to get stuck, what action steps they need, when they need them, even creating the exercises that need to go along with the different things that you're asking them to do. So, working with people one-on-one is really the best way to do this. And then from there, once you've worked with enough one-on-one people, you'll find yourself repeating the same things over and over again. And that's the number one indicator that it's time to build out some kind of training program, even if it's just for your one-on-ones, so that you can point them to a resource instead of teaching the same thing over and over again. That's the easiest thing to then go and create a group offer around, is you now have this training and they get some access to you one-on-one. And then of course you can have your self-paced programs as well. They're really great for a downsell, which, as the recession comes into play, downsells are great to have because people are still going to spend. They just might not be willing to spend as much. And so if you're someone who's doing one-on-one, and it's, really high investment, you're kind of cutting off the opportunity of those people coming across your desk by not having something else to offer them. So there's different ways to do it. I will mention one other thing, is that if you are teaching, let's take you, for example, Shannon, right? You're a tax gal, right? Tax strategist. you teach people, you help people, awesome. But you're also really good at productivity and time management. And you could teach that as well, but it's a completely different topic.
Mhm.
So if you're thinking, well, I've worked with a ton of people, I've helped a lot of people with tax strategy, but I also know how to do this thing. You're going to have to wait to build up audience, to build up cred, to build up everything that you have in tax strategy in productivity in order to make an offer work there. So a lot of people think like, well, I'm teaching this thing here and it's online and I have a course, so I can just build a course about this second topic. And it's not actually that easy.
Right, because it's not necessarily what people are hungry for. It's like, oh yeah, I built a great Mexican restaurant. I'm going to start offering pizza. And it's like, wait a second.
Mhm. Or even like, I'm a great copywriter and I help my clients with copy. I'm going to teach other people how to be copywriters. That's
Mm,
even you're now a totally different niche.
yep.
Before you were talking to businesses, now you're talking to freelancers.
Exactly. Exactly. So you mentioned something else. Like once you said something on repeat over and over and over again, that's probably a sign you should package it somehow and preserve it. And what that made me think of also is another argument for why you should wait is once you've said it enough times that you've refined how you say it, how you teach it, and you know what way works.
Mhm.
Because you guys know I use a bajillion analogies, but that's because I figured out what sticks. I figured out how people can understand what I'm saying by using these examples and seeing which one strikes. And I'm like, okay, note that one. That's the one I'm going to use on video.
I can tell you the clients that have the hardest time with recording, with making decisions about even just how to lay something out on a slide, like something as small as that, it's because they haven't had enough time, like in the arena, one on one with their
Mhm.
clients.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and storytelling is also very powerful. So to the extent that you can tell stories, this is one thing that you've pulled out of me was, hey Shannon, put a story here.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh God, like thinking about, oh, I didn't know that. And then as soon as you prompt me, I go, oh, actually, yeah, I have a great story I can tell here. And when you intentionally insert storytelling or these other elements, it becomes really, really powerful as a tool to get your point across. And I love how your approach to kind of lesson planning it. Could you just speak to, I don't know if we touched on this, but like your background and why you're so good at this, like what your experience has been?
Yeah, so I was a teacher in the lowest performing school in the country, which was in Detroit, Michigan, in 2012. If you know anything about Detroit, 2012, it was wild. There was turnaround efforts and new school districts and all kinds of crazy things happening. And so I learned how to teach in chaos, right? Like I was thrown into this situation. My kids are awesome. Like I still dream about my kids once a week, like from my teaching days. Uh, but I spent 3 years there. I taught for another year in Nashville, loved my kids, but the environment was really toxic and I was really burnt out. And so I was like, I got to get out of this thing. So then I landed in the world of online business, online coaching and consulting, and I ran my own programs for quite a while. And they were successful in a lot of different ways. But the most important way was like, I got people crazy freaking results. Like, I was this little person out of nowhere, and I could pump out like, I'd be running like 4 new offers at a time. Don't do that. It's stupid. But for me, it was fun because I was like, oh, I'm building this and I'm building that. And I just loved like helping people get results through teaching. Um, and I got to this place like in the middle of like early 2020, and I realized like my sales and marketing just still aren't working. Well, you're running 4 offers at a time. Seems like a duh moment now, but back then I didn't realize why. And I tried all of these things to scale and nothing was sticking. And I eventually had a gut hit one day that was like, shut everything down, which sounds totally freaking crazy, right? Like you have things that are working, you have things that are paying you, and it's just going okay, but it just didn't feel right anymore. So I did. I fired my entire team. I fired all my clients. I fired everything. I just shut everything down. And in the space that was created from that, I had conversations with friends. I called up old clients. I just needed something to like respond to in manifesting generator style, if you know anything about human design. And what I found is that a lot of people were really struggling with course creation. Like they were really struggling at like putting the brain into words. And I also was thinking back to the programs that I had taken in the last, 6 months back then, and they were awful. Like I paid I remember this one, I paid $7,500 for this program on how to scale your business. And I logged in and it was just complete crap. Like I could not freaking believe that this dude was doing millions of dollars a year. Like just couldn't believe it. And so I put a post up on Facebook about it and kind of this thing that I noticed, and 5-figure client in the door, like overnight.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, this is working. Cool. And I found that I loved it. And the reason nothing was scaling is because I loved building the product. So anytime I would get out of building the product, I'd be like, I don't really like this, right? All the marketing and sales activity, I didn't like it. It took me out of that genius zone. So now I just do it for other people.
I love it. You knew exactly where your strengths were at, and that's what you leaned into.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Jasmine, makes or breaks an online course, like takes it from good to great? Because you have an eye for that.
Yeah, first you want to make sure it's actionable. In every single lesson, you want to have a very clear, deliberate action step, like what you were speaking to in the beginning. Like, what do we want them to do as a result of this lesson? You also want to make it short and sweet. In the land of Netflix and Reels and TikTok and short form, nobody wants to watch a really long video anymore. So they've got to be, between 5 to 15 minutes. I've seen videos as short as 3 minutes work. It's kind of dependent on who you're teaching, what you're teaching, that helps you identify how long each lesson needs to be. But the shorter you can get it in today's day and age, the better results you're going to see from your students. So that's really huge, right? Keeping it actionable, making sure that the videos are as short as they can be. And the third thing I'll say is have some kind of deliverable tools, templates, techniques, resources, things that battle objections and things that speed up the results that or the time that it's taking your students to get results, which you've done a brilliant job with, by the way.
We have what I would even call, I was trying to describe it the other day to someone, and I was about to call it a course, but I said, well, it's like 75% not a course. It's like 75% stuff to go do. It's almost like it's like 25% coloring book and 75% crayons. It's really it's like it's all the tools that you need. It's less about the content, because I go, no one wants an accounting lecture. They want just the tools and tell me what to do. And that took 3 years for me to learn. Like my course sucked when I first built it in like 2019, the first one I ever did, because I thought people actually wanted to know this stuff. And I was actually, that's why I'm still surprised y'all listen to this show sometimes, because I ramble about tax stuff. But at the end of the day, like you said, short and sweet works. And people do want to know what you have to offer, but you have to deliver it in a way that's consumable. And I think that's where we miss the mark, is we want to share everything that's in our head, and there's not enough modules on the planet to capture everything you want to share. How do you recommend people dwindle down and like narrow it down and keep it really like potent and value driven?
I think it's reverse engineering. So you start with, what's the ultimate transformation here that someone's going to get as a result of this program? And then you chunk that down into, what are the big milestones that they need to hit in order to make that happen? And then you break that down into even further, like, what are the mini stepping stones to hit those milestones? Right. So you just got to think big picture and then chunk it all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like to say that for most programs out there, you're just trying to hit 85 to 90%. You're not trying to hit 100% of 100% of people all the time, right? Because if you that's what one-on-one is for. If they want a completely custom experience, or group coaching, for example, group coaching is the best example, because in the training you want 85% to 90%, and they bring that 10 to 15% of I'm a special snowflake to the coaching calls, right? So it kind of gives you a little bit of breathing room. Don't feel like you have to help every single person with every single thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when you're intentional, like you said, reverse engineer it. And what we actually did was, and this is like a spoiler into your method a little bit, but like what we start with was, okay, chapter 1, what do you want them to walk away with? And I was like, we haven't even talked about what it's about yet. And you start with, what are they walking away with? And then every element that we examined within that is that helping them get what they're walking away with, or is that just adding like weight to the backpack to get there? So when we approach it like that, I was like, oh, okay. Like it has to really relate specifically to the action.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of it like that, it becomes so much easier. At least that was kind of what I went through in working on this together, because I have a million ideas I could dump out. And the longer you give me to come up with more ideas, the more bulk it's going to have. Um, but we built it together. And then I looked at the product and I was like, oh, that's it. And it was funny because volume isn't value. Can you speak to that for a sec too? Like in terms of well, I want to charge $2,000, $3,000 for this course. I need to add more.
Well, think about it. Let's say your result a result that you want to get is you want to launch a podcast in Apple Top 200. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's one course where you get 50 hours of content and you will absolutely learn how to get a podcast launch in Apple Top 200. And then there's a 5-hour course that helps you get the result from Apple Top 200. And the first course, the 50-hour course, is $1,000. And the 5-hour course is $2,000. Which one are you going to choose? Likely you'll spring for the bigger one if it means you have to do less, you have to watch less in order to get the result. So I'm not saying everyone, some people like to have all of the content in all of the world, but most of the people I think in your audience, who I know in your community, they're working with people who don't have the time to sit and watch a 50-hour program.
And definitely don't want to pay more money to invest more time.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you're paying more money to save more time. Usually the whole value of an online course is shortcutting a process.
Yep.
So if you have to go through 50 hours of training in addition to investing that money, it feels like a double pain.
Mm-hmm.
What are you paying for? You're going to walk away with a borderline degree in this thing, but
Mm-hmm.
what is that going to do for you? And how much time does it take to invest? Usually you're investing money or time.
Yep. They say, the purpose of this, of doing all of these things that we do, courses, programs, et cetera, is to compress decades into days.
Yes.
So that's what they want. And they will pay more for you to compress decades into days instead of decades into weeks.
Yeah. I think being in touch with that value, that being the value driver, and not the actual tangible knowledge, but the value of what you're selling is actually saving time, then you'll realize, oh, I want to cut out more of this. I don't want to talk about stuff I don't have to talk about. And I don't want to confuse people. And I think we were talking before we hit record about, the kind of the packaging of the course and like the structuring. I know you had some more tips for our folks on that.
Yeah, in terms of structuring a course, right? Like to chunk it all the way down, like your main course can be, I don't know, the signature is usually like 4 to 5 hours is kind of the average of what I'm seeing. And then you break down each module into about 45 minutes. And then each lesson is worth, like I said before, like 5 to 15 minutes, sometimes as little as 3. And that's what I'm saying working the most right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
That begs another question. What are some of the most interesting topics you've seen come through either your service or you've heard about that people have successfully launched online courses about blank, which could help inspire some of the folks in our audience who are thinking, I don't know if my knowledge could be bundled into a course. What do you have to say to that?
I've seen successful programs in every topic. So whatever your topic is, you can make it work, right? Like that's the first thing. Some kind of ones that you wouldn't expect: immigration law.
Okay.
Like how to get an extraordinary person's visa. That one was like kind of off the wall, but holy cow, people will pay a lot of money because think about how much a lawyer is.
Right.
So if you're shortcutting that, and maybe and then she had an upsell into, we'll check it over, right? Which it gets really powerful, is like when you can start to position, how does this course lead them into upsells? How can this program have add-ons, right, that create more revenue for the person who can't afford me one-on-one or can't afford my group program or doesn't quite need that level of support? Like what's that middle tier? So that was really interesting. We've also done a lot of B2B stuff, and especially like in the I'll say like the agency space. Like if you have some kind of consulting agency or like YouTube agency or podcast agency, those courses are so good because you have seen so many projects just like you. Like you have seen so many people, you have helped so many people with this individual tax strategy that when it comes to creating your product, you know, like all the what ifs.
Yeah. Like we've cooked the recipe enough times to know what could go wrong, what could be confusing, what could be a hiccup. Um, like you said, you've put the reps in. And I think that's a key thing is like when you put the reps in and you know, like, okay, here's where you want to be careful. Here's when you learn that from really just the reps.
Yes, totally.
100%.
So we've seen a lot of like good agency programs come together. And you know, to some extent, there's a lot of experts out there who have a business or know a thing, and then they branch off into teaching it for the first time. And if you have the right audience built, if you have the right um, uh, kind of experience in the space, that transition can be easier than if you're just getting started. Like if you're just getting started for the first time, like freaking pick a niche and dig into it and connect and like do the DMs and like do the work. But if you're in a place where as an example, we're working with a woman who ran a PR agency for a really long time, worked with like Zara and Nespresso and Victoria's Secret fashion show, etc. And now for the first time, she's teaching PR. So she's had enough cred built over the long haul that she has enough people in her audience that she can launch no problem. Whereas if, you know, she hadn't been doing any networking or any credibility and she was kind of this best kept secret, then that wouldn't work as well.
Right, right. Because you want to be able to have a presence in whatever niche or community that you want to, where people would, what I would call like an aspirational identity in a sense. Like you need to have that credibility, but also have people know kind of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So, Jasmine, what help is available for people who want to create a course, but feel like there's just a lot they're missing in the execution? They have great ideas, but they just need help with it. You know, what do you guys offer and what do you recommend for someone who's in that position?
Yeah, we are all completely services based. So we have done for you services where we completely do it for you. All you do is show up and shine for 45 minutes a week and review what we pull together, which is pretty rad. We also have a done with you option, which allows us to kind of check back on your work, give you guidance, make sure it's done right the first time so you don't have to go and re-record anything. It gives people a lot of peace of mind just getting it across the finish line, doing your course for the first time. And you know, I do offer like VIP days as well, where if you're just like looking for another set of eyes, you want to get to the outline or whatever the big result is, we can do that as well. So all services over here. I don't have a course myself. Everybody tells me I should build one, but I know that it takes 250 hours to build a course. And I don't have 250 hours to build my own because I'm so busy building everybody else's.
Yeah. Well, I'll add into what you offer as accountability because I think one of the things that a lot of course creators don't realize is that it does take 250 hours and we don't have that kind of time. And it has shortcut a lot of the process, just knowing that every Monday I'm going to talk to you and we're going to spend a dedicated hour thinking about this has been a game changer because it blocks the time out. It's like meeting with a trainer to meet your goals for fitness. It's, you know, like I said, putting the reps in, showing up every week and saying, okay, we're going to think for this hour every week, I'm going to think about the courses. And I can't believe we're basically done. And it feels like, oh, when did I never felt like I worked crazy freaking hard on this. I feel like I just showed up and organized my thoughts and it was perfect. So I got to give you guys kudos for making that a seamless process.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I'm loving how it turns out. Cannot wait to be an affiliate for it. Yeah, I think you've created something really beautiful. So hats off to you for doing the work for so long to make the process easy.
You know what? That's a big factor in it too, is I think that having that 3 years or so under my belt before I really went all in on launching a course is pivotal, but also having a couple sets of eyes and taking the time to develop and launch it properly is going to be it's going to be instrumental in its success. Let's end on this note. What do you recommend when it comes to the courses? What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making, other than, let's say, length and some of that stuff, when it comes to either creating, pricing, packaging, or selling their online courses right now?
Yeah, I mean, what's coming to mind first is something we touched on earlier, which is knowing your ascension model. So knowing what you want them to graduate into next. This program, whatever program it is that you are creating, providing, also creates a problem, because when they're finished with this first thing, what's unlocked? What's their next step? And throughout your entire program, you have that in mind, and you're creating what I call like soft upsells. Sometimes it's even more explicit upsells for how they can ascend into the next layer. Not from a place of, I'm selling you, but from a place of, I'm here for you, because you're gonna get this result and you're gonna have a problem on the end of that result. And I got you there too. It's like a very different feeling. But the whole point of this is so that you can make money without needing your time, right, attached to it. And the whole point of really intentionally creating a program is that you get more repurchases, you get more referrals, you have a better client experience, right? You're tapping in that third way to grow a business, which isn't more clients, and it isn't average transaction value, how much money, but it's how many times do they come back and buy from you again? How often do they send you their friends? All of that good stuff. So getting really intentional on the front end with how you're doing that is, and there's a million ways to do it, but that is probably one of the number one mistakes I'm seeing right now.
Totally. So you have to have clarity on where this fits into your ecosystem and what you want them to do next.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Jasmine, I've really enjoyed having you on the show. I always love when you can share these, this wisdom with our group. And I did not know, we met through a friend, and I didn't even know your type of business existed. So if you just found out that there's this type of person out there, I encourage you to reach out to Jasmine, get in her network, get in her circle, and find out more about what she does, because working with her has been great. Jasmine, tell us where we can find out more about you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram is my main channel. It's just Jasmine Jonte there. Come say hi. And also my website, Jasmine Jonte. Very
perfect. Very clear.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure to link those in the show notes anyway. But thanks, Jasmine, for coming on. And we would love to continue the conversation in our community, guys. If you have questions on this episode, feel free to jump into the Keep What You In community, ask questions. I'm going to be inviting Jasmine too into there. So if you have questions on your courses, jump in and make sure you're asking them. All right. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks.